when I found out that I was pregnant again, my immediate thought was, oh no, I have a 6-month-old. How is this going to work? We went on, though, and I started to feel a little better about it. And then one day in March, that would have been December, I believe, that I found out, of 2011. I called upstairs here to the OB and was having what I thought was a minor issue. And I remember the OB saying, hey, we haven't seen baby yet. Why don't you come up and we'll get a good picture. I would have been just around 12, maybe just a little under, right around 12 weeks. I couldn't get a hold of my husband, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal because I was just going for a quick checkup, make sure everything was fine. And I remember going in there and laying on the exam table, and the midwife was in there along with one of the nurse aides. And I knew before she said anything. It was very quiet. Nobody said a word until the CNA said, would you like for me to go get Dr. Sessions? And she said no. And the nurse aide left the room. And we both kind of knew she didn't have to say much. Tried to get a hold of my husband, and that took a while. He was an active duty soldier here at the time. And it just transpired from there. I felt really, really guilty because I had questioned the timing. That was the only thing that I could think about, is that I did it. I caused it. Definitely felt like a failure, especially after everything that we'd gone through prior. It was probably by far the hardest thing that I've been through in my life. The guilt was definitely a very, very strong feeling that I carried for a really, really long time. That somehow I caused it. Maybe was it a medication that I took, or was it because I was told I could have a little bit of caffeine, and so I definitely had some caffeine. I should have noticed. How did I not notice that my baby died inside of me 2 weeks ago? I was walking around with a dead baby, and I didn't know. And how could I not know? I'm its mother. The guilt, definitely. The guilt was right there at the forefront. But at that time, I was sent home. Baby was still there. And I was sent home to try to allow things to happen naturally. And that was horrible. That was an unbearable 4 days. But I remember clearly, it was a Sunday night, I think, or an early Monday morning. I was up feeding my 6-month-old, or well, by that time he was 9 months. And I knew, I felt, physically felt something, and this is it. And so I laid him back down. I remember being in a tremendous amount of pain, physical pain. And I had been sitting on the toilet for a while, and my husband telling me, you've got to get up. You have to get up. And I remember telling him, I cannot. I can't leave my baby. I finally did. And I got in bed, and I just remember screaming as loud as I could, kicking, screaming. And my husband had to go to work that day. So I spent that day by myself. And then when he got home that night, he didn't know what to do with me. He just was beside himself. So he called my father, who didn't know. And so it just kind of, it went from there. My father came over, and I spent the next few months in a really very dark place. Thank God for my son. He's definitely what kept me going. Sorry. He kept me functioning. Some days it was barely, but he kept me getting up in the morning. It was hard, people not knowing, but then also having to explain what had happened after it happened when nobody knew in the first place. I did come to work. Might have been that next day or the day after. I definitely did not give myself enough time because in my mind I didn't deserve that time, I guess. I didn't deliver a live baby. So I did. I returned to work and went about life the best that I could. And 9 months after that, it would have been December-ish time frame, found out I was pregnant again. Terrified. Absolutely terrified. And this time, the numbers were not good. They thought that it might have been what they call a blighted ovum. We went through the ups and downs of the emotions of, is baby there, is baby not there, is baby alive? And then it was, baby's okay. Let's go home. And I had to do a lot of medications to help sustain the pregnancies. And something in my mind told me not even a month or two, not even a month probably, that something just didn't feel right. We were going to get family pictures taken that night, and I started bleeding. And I think it's true that mothers have a sixth sense. I knew. And then it was, well, do I proceed with life right now and go do these family pictures? Do I go to the emergency room? Do I drive up to Fort Riley and go to the emergency room? But I thought I had to, I guess for lack of a better term, be there for my family. And we had planned family pictures that night, and so that's what we were going to do. And that's exactly what we did. I don't look at those pictures anymore. I remember being in the exam room and the emergency room provider coming in. The nurse had covered me, and he came in and sat at the foot of the bed and threw the sheet back, hit me in the face. It was just a very cold, unwelcoming feeling, and so it brought back all of those same feelings of shame and the guilt. But I couldn't understand, because this time I told myself when I got that positive pregnancy test, this is great. Who cares about the timing? this is another baby, and I'm not going to question it like I did the last one. But that guilt, it came right back. I happened to stumble across an old classmate's Facebook page. She happened to be a doula, but she had posted a blog, and it was of a miscarriage that she had had. So her putting her story out there for everybody, essentially, to see, gave me just a teeny tiny bit of courage. I felt incredibly alone. I had my husband, I had my son, and I had all these great coworkers and family members. I felt incredibly alone. And I guess as time went by and I learned to live my new normal, I did not want, even if I could help one mom not feel that sense of aloneness during that time, that sense of guilt. It's a terrible feeling. And I didn't want anybody else to have to think that they were traveling that road by themselves, that there were no other families who had experienced similar situations, that nobody would understand, nobody cared. I did not want anybody to feel that. I think something that I took from it, well, in the healing process, I guess, the founder of that website, we were able to arrange for her to come here to Irwin in 2015 on October 15th, which is the day. And that was such a breath of fresh air. Like, I just thought, all of these people around me have unfortunately felt the same way I have. But I'm not alone. I'm not alone. It was phenomenal. It was kind of that was a big turning point for me. Prior, I like I said, a step each day. But that was a big turning point for me. And I continued to keep in contact with her after that. And there was a few years back, she posts every year different opportunities for people to send in the names of their babies that they would like to be remembered. And she does a hearts release every October 15th. Thousands of babies, just like what we did here at Riley Conference Center, where we threw the little paper petals and eventually they bloomed into flowers. So she does that somewhere within the United States. She's even been overseas, I believe, now. But she was just talking about different things that could be healing. And one of those was for those of us who lost baby very early. I mean, typically, most of the time you haven't picked out a name at 6 weeks or and she said it's okay to name your baby, even if you don't know if baby was a boy or a girl. And so we did. We named both of them Hope and Journey. Not necessarily because we felt that both were girls, but because of the experience. It definitely gave us hope and took us on a journey, for sure. And that helped tremendously. But I think that holding that stuff inside and not being able to speak about it because you feel there's a stigma attached to it is not healthy.